90% of lash artists apply the first solution to the wrong zone, and that one mistake completely destroys the chance of getting a clear, expressive, long-lasting lash lift. And the reason is simple. A lash always memorizes the shape of the shield exactly in the area where the solutions were applied and activated. If the zone was chosen incorrectly, the lash learns the wrong shape. If the zone was applied unevenly, the lash memorizes that unevenness. If the zone was too narrow, the root stays straight. Too wide, the tips get overprocessed. So the very first step toward predictable work is understanding one thing. Lash lifting is physics. Once you understand the structure, growth direction, density, and strength of the hair, your results become consistent, controlled, and repeatable. Why the first step, the application of the first solution, is the most important phase. This is the moment when the lash's internal structure softens, allowing you to reshape it into a new form. This is when the future curl is created. This is when the root either lifts or remains stubbornly straight. That's why the first solution is responsible for the architecture of the lash. Everything that happens afterward, the second solution, tint, nourishing steps, will only preserve or emphasize the shape you've already created. If the zone is wrong, nothing can fix the shape later. And this is exactly where the most common mistakes happen. Artists choose a zone that's too narrow because they're afraid to work close to the root, or too wide because they're unsure how the lashes actually grow, or they simply apply the same percentage to every client, which is the biggest industry myth. Why the direction of lash growth is the deciding factor. Imagine two lashes. One has a natural upward curve. The other grows sharply downward from the root. For the downward growing lash, the follicle itself, the bulb, is anatomically angled down. This means the root area is naturally resistant to lifting and requires much more processing to change its direction. In cases like this, the first solution must cover a larger portion of the lash length, simply because the strongest segment is the one that needs the most influence. Now compare this with a lash that already has a natural curve. Here the root is not resisting you. The lash already wants to lift, so you only need to soften the middle section to enhance the natural shape. And from this comes the key rule you must remember. The more the lash looks downward, the wider the application zone of the first solution must be. This principle alone can transform your results. Let's break down a real example. We have a lash line where, in all three areas, inner, central, and outer, the lashes grow straight from the root and the curl appears only at the very tips. This is a very common pattern, and it requires a very specific approach. Let's go step by step. 1. To lift the root, apply the first solution to at least 60% of the lash length. If you apply less, 40% or even 50%, the processing won't reach the root. You will soften only the middle part and the tip. Naturally, once the lash is removed from the shield, the root will fall back to its original straight position. This is why some lash lifts look good only on the first day, but then quickly lose height. It's not the brand, it's not the shield, it's simply the wrong zone. 60% ensures that the root receives enough softening to take on the new upward direction. 2. Apply as close to the root as safely possible. The solution must reach the peak point of the shield, the exact spot where the curl is formed. If you stay too far from the root, the lash will lift only from the middle, creating a weaker curl, a flat base, or that unwanted double curve look. By placing the solution right at the peak line, you create a smooth, controlled transition from the very beginning of the lash. And yes, we always keep a minimal safe gap from the skin, but the gap should be minimal, not exaggerated. 3. After 30 seconds, glide the product toward the tips. Why do we do this? Because in our example, the tips already have a natural bend. If we do nothing, this natural bend will remain separate from the new root lift, creating a broken, uneven curve. But a gentle glide of the product toward the ends softens the existing bend. Not fully, not aggressively. Just enough to integrate it into one seamless line. This creates a long, elegant, unbroken lift that looks polished and professional. Why this technique works? We soften exactly the part of the lash that controls the strength of the curl. This gives us a powerful root lift. We protect the tips from unnecessary processing. Tips react faster, so overprocessing them leads to dryness, frizz, or weak ends. We create a stable, even long-lasting lift. No dents, no drops, no sudden changes in the curve. We give the lash